So good morning, participants. Only 12 people has joined this meeting out of 12. Yeah, 11 people. Okay. So as we had a discussion that today we have slightly change in the schedule. So at morning we'll start with that the lecture from on age technology. Then at 10 past 10 we'll start with that morning, sir. Okay. Yeah, good morning, Tapesh. And then 10 past 10, we have a lecture with Meghna Singh and Hemant Singh Parmar. And then 11:45, we have a validatory function to till 12:15. And after the 12:15, we have a quiz activity, and that will be live for 1 hour, means up to this 1:05. Yeah, good morning, Garima Sharma. And I've received so many messages for good morning. Anjali, Deepak Kumar, Srinivasa, and Garima Sharma. Good morning to all. So let's wait for 1 or 2 more minutes and then we'll start our presentation because we have a very limited time to complete this presentation. So now the 18 people has already joined. So let's start with this today's presentation. So till now it's the last and fifth day of this FTP programs. And so we had 4 days, means we started with 19, 19, 20, 21, 22. We had a very uh, good expert lecture from academician as well as the industry peoples. And the yesterday lectures was Preet Yadav and Aditya and Abhishek Gupta was a wonderful. Means they have a industry experience and they share their experience to how to come up with this IoT systems and IoT device design. But the link which I feel that it's missing during this course, that is of basic knowledge of IoT, means suppose experienced people are there and they want to means add something in the IoT, then they can easily get from that experienced person. But if a person who just would like to start his careers or start to build the first IoT products or IoT systems, then it is means that part is missing in entire course. So today I'll try to cover that part. Suppose you want to start or you want to build your own IoT systems, then what are the basic requirements, what type of hardwares, what type of systems are available, and what type of resources are available. With the help of that resources, you can design your first Internet of Things systems. And the later part of this means after 45 minutes of talk, and after that 15 minutes, we will talk about that edge devices and edge technology. What are the applications? What is the requirement of the edge devices? So most of this part of this presentation, I will concentrate on to the basics of IoT. Means suppose if you just at the beginning of your careers and you want to start your careers or you want to start to teaching or you want to implement your first IoT product or first IoT system, then what are the requirement to design for that, and from where you get the useful information, useful resources to design your first IoT systems. Because I have seen so many participants are from the school also, and so many participants are just means MTech students and research scholars are there. So I suppose that a prior to that, they do not have any experience for designing of this IoT kind of systems. So how to design the IoT kind of systems and what are the importance of the IoT systems. So in this today's first session, I'll try to cover that. I'm not going to cover an advanced topic of this IoT. It's a very basic fundamental of IoT systems. So before to start this IoT systems, as the slide I have already presented in this introduction inaugural function. So why the IoT is so important? The IoT is so important because if you predict in 2030, it was a prediction. It was a prediction by Transformer Insights, and the prediction is that in 2030 we have a 24.1 billions of devices, IoT-enabled devices. So in 2030, we have around 24.1 billions of devices. So to connect this much of devices, this many of devices, we require infrastructures, we require the manpower, we require the hardware, we require the communication technologies, we require the high processing power to accommodate all these users in IoT systems. So we know that the depth of this IoT system, the IoT system is everywhere in the world, where there's some media devices, there's a smart grid, connected vehicles, lightning, and the asset trackings and the inventory management. So we have seen so many examples given by the experts. The IoT is now everywhere. Means if we consider that 2030, the 24.1 billions of people, the connected devices, then most of the devices, the 17.4 devices, 17.4 billions of devices are in the short range. A short range means a communication range, means the sensors and the node. The distance between the sensors and node is very limited. It's about a 10 to 15 meters, the distance between the sensor and node. A sensor and node means a sensor which sends the data and node which receive the information from the data and then forward that information to the cloud or to the gateways or the or edge, whatever it is. So the short range communication is a necessary part, means a basic backbone, basic infrastructure required to accommodate these many numbers of users. Now for that, we heard that the 5G communication technology is coming, and the 5G communication technology is mainly focused on the short range communication itself. So a very small means nowadays, if we look at to this 4G technology, then we require a tower, and tower cover a maximum number of peoples in that particular area. But as the number of devices is continuously increasing, so we have to provide the services to the as many number of resources, as many number of IoT devices, IoT applications. So for that, we require the basic infrastructure, and the first parameter, first research area, that is for short range devices. And the many people are working on the short range devices. The short range devices means many people are working on this millimeter wave antenna systems for the MIMO systems and the transmitter receiver systems for the optical wave also. So the many research is going on into this area for the short range communication, short range distance communication. Then a second part of this slide is presenting that that is an economical based of survey. It is presented that the IoT revenue in 2030 is around 1.5 trillion. So very huge amount of revenue can generate from the IoT systems. And if we look at to this major contributor in this 1.5 trillions of devices, then 26% of this revenue is shared by the China, North America, and European country. A very small amount of revenue generated by the IoT system in India is negligible as compared to the China and North America and Europe. Means around of 25 countries are lying between to cover 1% of this 1.5 trillions of revenue. So government putting a lots of efforts to generate the manpower, to teach the peoples, to train the peoples in the system, so that we can cover up and we have a significant amount of revenue generation from this 1.5 trillions of market. And out of that 1.5 trillion, if you look at to this, then the 34% of hardwares means 520 billions of hardwares, and the 66% is our services. India is leading in this scenario where the services are there, but we are lagging in this field of hardware. So hardware revenue, the revenue generated from the hardware is necessary, a necessity for India to contribute a significant in this 2030 1.5 trillion of technology or revenue. So now, if you look into this application area of IoT, so as we have seen, the IoT is penetrated in all these technologies: the smart city, the smart environment, the smart energy, smart agriculture, e-health, the retail, logistic, and industrial control. So in all sectors, there is usage of Internet of Things. Means all this technology, all these sectors, all this area require to be smarter. And for the smarter, they become a smarter, we require to be a Internet enables. The things should be Internet enabled. And in if you look at to this in our home or in our house, we have at least 5 to 6 IoT enabled devices. We have a surveillance camera, we have a laptop, we have a microphone, washing machine, your refrigerator, your car, your this fitness belt, and your fan, your AC, and all those devices. The whole household devices means a single person. If we predict that a single person is carrying a 3 and 4 IoT enabled devices. So, and the demand of this IoT enabled system and IoT enabled devices or IoT enabled equipment is continuously increasing. So now we have, suppose at present we are carrying at least 2 or 3 IoT enabled devices. In future, it will be possible that you will have a 5 to 6 or 7 to 8 IoT enabled devices. So how to accommodate this many number of users in this present infrastructure, and what other advancement is required for the future technology and future prospect? We'll see that. So first of all, for this very beginner or the primary level definition of this IoT key, what is IoT? Most of the people have a confusion key, what is IoT, and Internet of Things means what? The capital I and small I. What is the difference between capital and I small I? So Internet of Things, if we look at to this Gardner definition, the bookish definition, the Internet of Things is a network of physical objects that contain embedded technology to communicate and sense or interact with their internal states or external environment. Means what? The Internet of Things is a network of physical objects. So the physical objects means any object. You have your printer, washing machine, your car, your refrigerator, your TV, your smartwatch, whatever the things are there, the object is there that connect that contain an embedded technology. This each object have some embedded technology to communicate. To communicate means to send the information or to receive the instruction, and sense or interact with their internal states. Sense means they have the senses which sense the internal state or external environment. So this is the bookish definition. And in a layman language, in a simple language, if you try to understand what is IoT, the IoT is just a connecting the things to the internet. Means we connect your printer, we connect your mobile phone, you connect your headphone, you connect your mobile phone, your TV, your smartwatch, whatever the things are there. If that things is connected with the internet, then that is known as the Internet of Things. Now the big question is that why do we want to connect this refrigerator? Why do we want to connect our car? Why do we want to connect our mixer, our watch to the internet? We connect these things to the internet to get the data, the internal states from the objects. Means suppose the refrigerator is there. As we have seen, the Preet Yadav from the NXP syndicator gave a presentation on this smart refrigerator. Smart refrigerator means a refrigerator is a smarter enough. The refrigerator itself has a smart enough means it can calculate that the occupancy of protein items, occupancy of vegetable, occupancy of fruit, occupancy of means a particular item is missing. So it sends the information to the users. Means the main objective is to connect the refrigerator to the internet is that we need a state of that refrigerator, and according to that we'll take the actions. So why do we want to connect this refrigerator to the internet? To provide a better service. To provide a better service means the refrigerator itself send the information, the present state to the cloud, to the internet through the internet connection, and the cloud compute the data. What item is required, what item is missing inside the fridge, and what is the habits of means what are the habits of this family, and according to that it places the order to the online shopping mall, online shopping center, and that item is automatically delivered at your doorstep. So that is the beauty of Internet of Things. Means we require to connect the things to get the information, to get the better services, better applications. So that is the main objective, to connect the internet, to connect the object to the internet. I think this is clear now. We connect the object to the internet. So to get the data, we process the data, and according to that, we take the action. That can easily be understood with the help of this very interesting example. He, these are the comic characters, and many people read the comics. So these are the comic characters, and the first comic character we have it's a phantom, and he's a crime fighter, and he fight with the crime with the help of a gun, two guns he has, and muscle power. So he has a strong muscle power, and with the help of this muscle power, he fights with the crime. But the thing is that how do he know that where the crime is happening? So he know where the crime is happening by the tribes. The tribes are there. Tribes beat the drums and they inform the phantom that here the crime is happening. So phantom, according to that location, go to that location and fight with the crimes. So this is example of the earlier system, the computers we have in 90s where we have a computer. The computer had a good processing power, but they do not have the facility to communicate with each other. They do not have the facility to send the information to the outside of the world. So we have a limited. He has a very strong muscle power. Means he has a very strong processing unit, but the capability of processing is only for the local level. It can only whatever I want to do. Means suppose I want to play a movie, it will play the movie, but it is not capable to download the movie and play the movie online through the internet. So that is that feature is missing into this Phantom. Then a smarter version of Phantom is Batman. The Batman more smarter than the Phantom. He has a small wings so that he can fly ahead, and he can able to get the place where the crime is happening. So the ability to present at the place where the crime is happening is more for the Batman. And Batman has a belt. In this belt, he has lots of advanced equipment to fight the crime. So he fight more effectively compared to that Phantom. But again, these are the systems of 2000 eras where the systems are dual core and the multi-core systems are there. But again, the ability to communicate with the others is missing. He has a networking issues. He can connect, but he can only transfer the data. Means we have a server, and from the server we transfer the data, we download the file, we access the softwares, we access the various applications. So that is a limited connectivity for the Batman. Now a very advanced comic character that is known as the Iron Man. What the special has, the Iron Man has a limited muscles power, but he has a lots of sensors in his suit. The special kind of suit is there. He has a lots of sensors. These sensors give the real-time data to that processor, and according to the real-time data processed by the processor, and according to that, it will take the action. So, what is the importance of the sensors, and what is the use of the sensor? The use of the sensor is that they will provide the real-time information. Real-time information means where the crime is happening, the real location of the crime, easily we can identify. He has types of weapon, which weapon is useful for fighting this kind of crime. And he has means how much energy is remaining, what is the communication activities, means what type of weapon is required, and where the crime is happening. So this Iron Man get the real-time information. How he get the real-time information? He has various sensors. The sensors are connected with the processor. The processor process the real-time data, and according to the real-time data, it instruct to the sorry for interrupting. It instruct to that Iron Man to do the actions. So the actions are perfect actions. They are the approximate actions. Here we have the action is a perfect action because we have a real-time data. Means what is the distance of the enemy, where the crime is happening, and how many people are there, how to fight with that. He give the instructions, what type of weapons we have to use. He can easily fly, he can easily get the muscles power, how much power is remaining. All this information is real-time processing information is available. So this is a better crime fighting example. So as internet means what? Internet of Things means what? We have a various sensors. The various sensors we are collecting the information from the sensor, real-time information from the sensor. We process the real-time information and do the action accordingly. This is the main objective of IoT systems. So now it is clear the IoT means interconnected objects, and these objects, we get the information from that object, real-time information from the object. We process that information, and according to that, we took the action. It is not required to always took the action according to the received data. The some data may be used for the future application, means consumer behavior. We can monitor the consumer behavior, and that data, the collected data, is not required to take some action. That data is only used for to monitor the consumer behavior according to the industry, according to the design house, here or generate the products. So this is time for the poll. So I'll just post a poll, then we'll continue with that. So poll is live now. You can answer that poll, and we'll continue with the presentation. So now this is a typical architecture of IoT system. It's very beginning or very means layman architecture of this IoT systems. But for the student, for the faculty member, for the school teachers who just want to start their first product, IoT product, they want to design their first IoT product, it's very important to understand what is the IoT and what is the IoT architecture and various layers of this IoT. So we generally have a 4-layer of architecture. The first layer is a sensor layer. The sensor layer senses the quantity, whatever you want to measure. You want to measure the temperature, motion. You want to measure means rainfall. You want to measure means you want to measure heart beats, or blood pressure, or whatever the quantity you want to measure. That is generally measured by this sensor. So we require a sensor, means we require a hardware which is capable to sense a particular data. Then once we sense the data, we require a local processing unit also. Why we require the local processing unit, we'll see that also. Then after that, we send that information to the nearby node. That nearby node may be a mobile phone, means you have a sensor and you send that information to the mobile phone, and the mobile phone transfer that information to the base station and the servers, and according to that we will have the applications. Suppose you sense the temperature, and according to that you have to take the decision. So the sensor sense the temperature, it transfer that temperature to the mobile phone, mobile phone transfer to the base station transfer to the cloud or the servers, and the servers compute the temperature. If the temperature is very high, then it again send back to the signal to that sensor that turn on your AC, turn on your fan. So that is interconnected, and these are the 4 layers. Our first layer is sensor connectivity and network layer. The second layer is a gateway network layer, management services, and applications. So now the first layer is a sensor layer. Sensor layer means, as I told you, at this layer we have a tag and various sensors. We have various sensors. We can have a Zigbee. We can have the sensors, is a temperature sensor, whatever the sensor we require. The solid state sensors and GPS, the photoelectric sensor, infrared sensors, accelerometers, or we can have RFID or barcode. So these are the types of sensors. This is a fitness belt. Most of the people are using this. This is again a sensor which sends your heartbeats, it sends your oxygen level, and whatever it is. So there are the types of devices that are placed to provide the surveillance detections of motion, temperature, humidity, brightness, various other gases, and the sensing of various things, as well as the health monitoring devices. So sensor, the role of the sensor is to sense it may be a motion sensor, it may be the temperature sensor, it may be the humidity sensor, brightness sensor, and a gas sensor or the healthcare sensors. Individual sensors and the tag that are collecting and gathering the data. The role of the sensor is to just collect the data. But whatever the data the sensor collect, it is required that we should convert that data into the electrical form. We should convert that data into the form of electrical signals. Whatever the physical piezoelectric effect is also there, and some other effects are there. So we convert that sensing data. The sensor, the role of the sensor is to convert, to sense that quantity and convert that to quantity into the electrical signal. Maybe the small electrical signal. So we'll have an amplifier to amplify that signal, or we require a processor to process that signal, whatever it is, but the sensor is required to convert to sense that quantity and convert that quantity into that electrical signals. So these are the types of sensors we generally use in to design IoT product, the simple IoT products. So the temperature and humidity sensors will use a DHT11, DHT22. The temperature range is different. This is a picture of the sensor where we have the 3 pins. That 3 pins we can directly connect into the connector, and we can connect to the processing unit. Then we have a pressure sensors, small pressure sensors. We have a flow sensors, which sense the flow of the data flow generally for the water meter, or generally for the flow meter, we use this flow sensor, which sense the flow of the liquid. And image sensors we use to capture the image, and the ultrasonic sensors we generally use to sense the distance, or we use to sense the object. So these are the main sensors we generally use to design a prototype, as it is told by the Aditya from the Scientech, that before to design any product, we must satisfy with the prototype. And for the prototype designing, these sensors are very important. Apart from that, we have RFID. The RFID is generally used for the malls and other activities. So we use RFID is also as a sensors. And in this RFID, RFID do not have any battery, any power source. The RFID is having a coil and a small chip. So when we put a scanner, when we scan something, when we give a pulse to that antenna, that antenna is get energized and it provides power to that chip, and that chip give you the information. So that is the RFID. So these are the kind of sensors we require at the first layer of your IoT system. Then once we sense the data, as I told you, the sensors sense the data and it converts that data into the electrical signal. Now we have to process that data. For the processing of that data, we required a processor or microcontrollers according to that applications. Now, how to choose this hardware? It is again a difficult and important questions. कि हम कैसे select करें? कि we have to use Arduino board, or we have to use a Raspberry Pi board, or we have to use other advanced board like the Beagle boards or Intel boards or whatever. The STMicroelectronics is also having the boards for the IoT systems. So what board is required? What hardware? What processor is required at the early stage of the sensor mode? So the very famous and very useful and very interactive first board, that is known as the Arduino boards. Arduino is an open source microcontroller hardware. The Arduino Uno R3 entry level general purpose, Arduino Uno IoT, and Arduino LilyPad. So it is a very small and generally used for the wearable devices. It's Arduino Uno and it's an advanced version, and the Arduino Uno R3 is a primary version. So they generally use a 8 mega 328 processor, that Atmel AVR processor, and this processor, the specification of this processor, the advantage of this the processor is that it supports a low power consumption, because we are implementing a IoT enabled system. IoT enabled system means that system may be you may monitor the temperature at the remote location. So in the remote location means once we install that sensor, the sensor should work at least 1 or 2 years. Means it is not practical that we after the every day we go and we change the battery and the sensor temperature. So we require a low power is a basic requirement when we design a sensor for the remote applications. So for that, support of low power consumption is a very specific. Other specifications are the same. They adopted the main line of the Arduino Uno, operated at 1 megahertz, 1.2 volts. Active mode current is only 0.2 milliamperes. Power save mode is only 0.75 microamperes, and power down mode is only 1 microampere. So it has a RAM is of 2048 bytes EEPROM, the programming memory. The I/O systems, UART, SPI, and I2C are there. Timers and temperature range, and the operating voltage is 1.5 to 5.5. So a very famous Arduino Uno board, and in the Arduino Uno board, we generally use the 8 mega AVR processor, 8 mega 328 processor. Then If then the next generation, that is what known as the next generation. So next generation, we have the Raspberry Pi boards. The Raspberry Pi board is a, we can say it's a small computer or mini computer where it has its own operating system. Arduino Uno board do not have any operating system. It have a IDE. You can install that IDE, freely available IDE is there. You can install that IDE with on your computer. You connect this Arduino board with the USB port and you program whatever the program you write, you burn that program into that Arduino boards. And only the burning means what? It has the input pins, it can collect the digital data, it can connect the analog data. Suppose you want to connect, you want to have a sensors, or you want to turn on or turn off the LED, you can collect that with the pin. Pin number 13 is there, universal digital output pin. So analog, it can have an analog input and it can have the digital input also. So according to the sensor, type of sensors, you can use the pins and you can program that pin as an input pin, or you can program that pin as an output pin. You just have to simple programs to specify the pin number. This is input pin and we are collecting this data, and this pin is output pin and we are transferring it. You just want to write a small program for that, for programming of Arduino boards. Then, as I told you, this Raspberry Pi board, the Raspberry Pi board is a 1.2 gigahertz RAM Cortex CPU based microcomputers for general IoT function. Raspberry Pi 0 watt is a very small, tiny Raspberry Pi board, and it required a very less power. So the Raspberry Pi developed by this Raspberry Pi Foundation in UK, developed as a low-cost single board computer to promote the basic computer science skills in schools. That is generally designed to promote the basic computer skills for our peoples. And then this support the general computation in the basic web service function. The specification in the terms of hardware include the Broadcom system, on-chip SoC, ARM CPU, on-chip GPUs, and Raspberry operating system. It has a Raspberry operating system as well as it has a ARM CPU also. Then the advanced version, more advanced version is Beagle boards. So most of the people are using this Beagle board. But now again the question is that, suppose I have to measure the temperature. So only I have to measure the temperature. It is required to use a Beagle board. So that is the main question. How to identify that which board, which hardware is useful for my applications. You have to decide that. We'll compare that, and according to that, we'll decide that. So this is an open source single board computer product by the Texas Instrumentation, fully functional basic computer. Supports the various operating systems, including the Linux and the Android. Especially Linux and Android is on your smartphone, your smart tablets. So it includes the advanced feature and a little bit more expensive than the other single board computers. The key features are: it required low power, it's only 2 watts, programmable real-time units, and enhanced processing with the image and the 3D fixed processing. So apart from this Beagle board, other boards, the Intel IoT boards is there, the STMicroelectronics IoT boards are there. So various categories of boards are available for processing of your collected data by the sensors. But what you require means what kind of hardware you require for your application. That is a major question. How to counter that? So this is a main comparison. The comparison is that if you required a simple temperature sensing, then you select the Arduino as a sufficient. But if you require some audio processing or some video processing, then a high-end processor is required. So for that the Raspberry Pi 3 model is used. And Beagle board is generally used because it has operating system like the Ubuntu, Android, and Windows and Linux. So it considered, and it has only the connectivity with 100 Mbps Ethernet. So this is generally used as a mini computers, a computer where the low power computation is required for a video processing, for the 3D image processing, or for the this kind of application. Then we generally use the Beagle boards. Otherwise, for simple temperature sensing, no image, no video processing is required, then you select the Arduino board. If you require to have some image processing, some small video processing, then use the Raspberry Pi. Or if you require a 3D or high resolution video processing, live camera processing, so then use the Beagle boards. The major part is the networks. It is extra, means Arduino board do not have any network means it cannot directly communicate with the network. We require extra shield to communicate from the Arduino. But in case of Raspberry Pi, we have the Bluetooth 4.1 Classic, BLE 10 and 100 Mbps Ethernet, 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, and 802.11. So the Raspberry Pi, suppose you want to collect information, you want to transfer that information with the help of Bluetooth or with the help of a Wi-Fi. You can easily do that using the Raspberry Pi. But that feature is not available in Arduino board, but you can use extra shield, and from that extra shield, you can do that activity also. So I received the 49 responses out of the 72. So those who have not responded for the poll activity, please respond for the poll activity. Now, we continue with that. So we select that board according to the need of your applications. So this is the first criteria. Now, the second criteria is once we have the data and we process the data, we have to send that data to that outer world. Means we have to send that data to the network, through the internet, and to the server, to the cloud to process that data. So for that, we have a facility. We can use a mobile communication, 3G, 4th generation LTE, 4th generation A, advanced LTE, or 5th generation already demonstrated in 2018 in Korea. Or you can use wide LAN area networks, the wired LAN area networks, or we can use a wireless Wi-Fi systems, or we can use a personal area network for the short range, for the 5 to 10 meters. We can use a ZigBee, Bluetooth, or 6LoWPAN. And for the wide range, the range is about 20 meters to 50 meters. We can use a Wi-Fi for wireless or WLAN for the local area connections. So these are the IoT network facility that can be used. The Wi-Fi is already covered by this Sachin Chaudhary nicely. It works onto the 2.4 gigahertz, or some advanced Wi-Fi systems are now working on this, both the 2.4 gigahertz as well as the 5 gigahertz. So this is a basic infrastructure, basic structure for the Wi-Fi that can be operated in two mode. One is the infrastructure mode, or second is the ad hoc mode, or peer-to-peer communication. So you can use, and this is a comparison of various IEEE 802.11 protocols. Generally, for the vehicle and this smart or the connected vehicles, we use 802.11p, which published and release date is July 2010. It uses a frequency of 5.9 gigahertz, and the bandwidth is 5, 10, or 20 megahertz, and 1.5 Mbps to 54 Mbps data rate support. So these are the various generation of the Wi-Fi networks. Bluetooth is generally used for the short range communication, as I told you, and the Wi-Fi is generally used for the long range of communication. So these are the various Bluetooth that is known as versions, and generally we use a Bluetooth low energy, that is of 4.05 we generally use, and the maximum transmission speed is 25 mega Mbps and the 1 Mbps, and 25 Mbps and the 2 Mbps. And the area covered by this Bluetooth low power 4.0 and 5 is around 50 meters. So that can be used for Bluetooth, or you can use a ZigBee if you required large range of communication, and you can use a ZigBee, but ZigBee is a very power hungry. Apart from that, spatial protocols are designed for the IoT application itself, because if you compare the Wi-Fi ZigBee has a large data range, but the large data rate, but the range of communication is shorter. And cellular phone has a large range of communication, but we required a low power with a larger, wider coverage area. To get that, we have a low power LPWAN, that is of LoRa and Sigfox. The LoRa and Sigfox are basically designed protocol for this IoT application itself. And so that is known as a LoRaWAN, low power wide area networks, and Sigfox. These are the two technology that is generally used for the IoT applications. Then IoT mobile communications. So we can use we can use 3G, 4G or networks to transfer this sense data to the base stations. So now we come up to this second part of this lecture, that is known as the edge computing. Why we require the edge computing and what are the various perspectives are there for the edge computing. We have the 20 minutes more to complete the session. So in case of edge computing, why the edge computing is required? Now, the edge computing is required. We'll try to understand with the help of this example. If you look at to this data rates, which is produced by the various IoT sensors, then it is predicted that the unit of data that will generate by the IoT devices in zettabytes. Zettabytes mean 2 to the power 17 bytes. If we consider zettabytes as a one Great Wall of China, then it's around, we are generating a 5 to 10 zettabytes of data. 163 zettabytes of data in 2025 is predicted. Means the data is, if we imagine this data, means 163 Great Wall of China. This much amount of data we are continuously generating. And it is predicted, it is observed that the most of the data is real-time data. A real-time data means a quick information is generated. Quick information generated means what? If suppose you install a fire sensor, fire alarm in your building. You suppose install a 30 to 40 alarms. And suddenly the fire get catch up by this building. Means all these 30 sensors get activated and transmit the data. If all the sensors transmitted the data, means the data spikes is very high. To handle this, a spike of data for a network is a very difficult task. So this example will give you this inside view of that why the real-time data and the real-time spikes of data means what. Suppose this is example of the Fukushima that is situated in Japan. It's a nuclear power plant. And before to the tsunami, means it's 2000. This picture is of it's 2011. So before to the tsunami, all the sensors, the various sensors are installed, and that sensors are continuously monitoring the radiation level of that nuclear power plant. And suddenly, because of this tsunami effect, all the sensors, the thousands of sensors are there. All sensors get activated and they transmit the data. So you can see that the huge amount of data is generated with this sensors. So to handle this huge amount of data with this, a simple network is very difficult. To process this data, to get the data is very difficult. So what is the solution for that? The solution is that before to send the data to the cloud, we have an intermediate processing unit. We process the data, and if it required, all the sensors are sensing the same radiation level, and they are transferring the same information to the cloud. And cloud is continuously processing the same information. Then it is unnecessary wastage of resources. Apart from that, if there is a significant change in the radiation level is found, then only that information to be transferred to the cloud. Otherwise, we handle that information to the locally. How to handle that information locally, how to process that information locally, that is known as edge computing. Edge computing means what? At the edge, near to the edge, where we sense the information, we process that information itself. And we filter that information. If that information is very useful, then only we transfer that information to the server. Because the communication channel is limited, we have a limited range of communication. The power is limited. The infrastructure is limited. So in that limited number of resources, if we are continuously increasing the number of number of connecting devices, then how to handle this many number of devices? So that is a need of the edge computing. The edge computing means what? Near the edge, where we are sensing the data, we provide the basic infrastructure near to the sensor so that the power requirement will be less, the communication range will be less, and unnecessary traffic, unnecessary transmission of the data from the gateway to the cloud is not required. So the cloud, the processing power of the cloud, the load over the cloud can get minimized. Unnecessary traffic can minimize, and that data is be processed locally. Suppose, for the example, you installed a temperature sensor in your room, in your your office or your classroom. You are continuously monitoring that data. So it is obvious that after every half an hour, you are monitoring the temperature. The change in temperature is 1 degree or 0.5 degree. and you are transferring that info to get the data capture, to process the data and transfer the data to the cloud. The change into the temperature range is not a significant. It's a very small change in the temperature you found. You are unnecessarily transferring that data to the cloud. Apart from that, we put a filter at the source end itself. If the change in temperature is a smaller, is a difference of 2 degrees Celsius, 3 degrees Celsius, 5 degrees Celsius, then it is variable. Then do not send that information, unnecessary information, to the cloud. So to avoid this communication drain, to avoid this unnecessary traffic, and to avoid the load over the cloud, we propose to have a processing unit near to the sensor that is known as an edge. That is known as a edge. So now, so this is a basic infrastructure of the edge computing, where we have generally the three types of edge are defined. One is called as a fog computing node, one is called as a mobile edge computing node, and one is called as a cloudlet host. These are the intermediate level where we can process the data. Means we sense the data. We can use a fog computing, we can use a mobile edge computing, or we can use a cloudlet host. What is the difference between that? We'll try to cover that. The edge computing means the computing storage resources are moved closer to the edge. Means apart from sending all the information to the cloud, we put the processing unit resources near to the edge, closer to the user. In other words, they move closer to like the base station or access point. The edge computing characteristics include the very short time delay with high quality of service support, because it is so close. So imagine that you put a sensor which is continuously monitoring the video. You are transferring that data. Your video means you are transferring the frames. You are transferring the frames to the traditional network, mobile network. The cloud process that images, and according to that, it sends the instructions. When you sense the information, and when you get the signal from the cloud, there is a huge delay. And in some real-time application like the driverless car, this delay is not tolerable. है ना? अगर आपने सडनली आपने एक सेल्फ ड्राइविंग कार है, उसके सामने एकदम से ऑब्जेक्ट आ गया, you detect that object, you sense that information, you process that, you send that information to the cloud. Cloud is already busy, cloud is overloaded. Cloud process that data is very slowly and send the information. जब तक कि वापस information send करे तब तक तो object and this जो आपकी कार है वो collide ही कर जाएगी. So nowadays we required such quick action should be taken. So that can only be possible when you use a edge computing. So low usage of network resource and the low battery usage of IoT and smart devices. You are not unnecessarily transferring the data to the base station. Means you save the power also. You save the communication resources also. Because you are only communicating in the short range and near distance devices, that is going to be quickly give the results. The delay into the result is again shorter because you are processing the information locally and you give the instruction locally also. But on the other hand, it is more complex. You have to be able to predict that what is going to be used, and you need to bring that over the edge computing. But again, the challenging task is that it is not possible to put an entire cloud near to the edge. It is not possible. It's possible because the edge means it required the high computation power, means it's a power hungry. It is not. Means if you make your node as a power hungry, you put a lots of computing facility, you put lots of application onto the edge, onto the sensor itself, then there is no use of that wireless sensor because it's a power hungry. After every half an hour, you have to change the battery. Then there is no use to put the system smarter. So for that, we have three different architecture for the edge computing: fog computing, mobile edge computing, and the cloudlets. Let's compare and let's see about that. Brief about the fog computing. The fog computing means it is based on the structure in which it is used the Wi-Fi. So we have a sensor, and sensor is communicating to the fog computing network with the help of Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or various wireless PAN techniques like the Zigbee, 6LoWPAN, or others. So we'll look into this infrastructure. Yeah, this is a comparison. So now, traditionally, we have a user equipment. This is suppose your sensors which are sensing the data. They directly transfer the data to the base station. Means that they require a large power to transfer this data to the base station. Base station transfer this data to the LTE core network, and LTE core network transfer to the information to the internet, to the cloud. This is a traditional approach. Now, if we use a fog computing means what? We place a fog node near to this user equipments, and these equipments are not directly connected, not directly communicating with the base station. They are communicating with the fog node. The fog node has a capability, is a small storage also there, a small processing power is also there. And whenever it is required to communicate with the base station or transfer the information to the cloud, the fog node transfer that information to the base station, not the user equipment. So what are the advantages of this? The first advantage is that unnecessary data transmission, the data usage of this LTE core network is avoided. The power saving mode, because we are just transferring the information to the very short distance, means it requires less power. Less power, high speed decision making. So these are the main, that is known as a fog node, and these are the main advantages of this fog node. So fog computing is used one or more collective end user, client or near user edge device. Fog support the services in terms of substantial amount of storage instead of storage in the cloud data center. You store it locally. Communication support, and if the node required to communicate with the base station, they communicate with the fog node itself. So that is known as a fog computing, the first part of this edge network. Then the second part is the mobile edge computing. A mobile edge computing means it has a various apps inside it. Cloud, the replica of cloud we create, where the lots of apps are there, and the host mobile edge computing unit is also there. So if we compare again with the help of this example, so in traditional way, again we have the user equipment. That user equipment through the mobile network connect to the base station. To the base station connect with the LTE network, internet, and the cloud. Apart from that, what it is proposed that instead of directly communicating with this base station, we put 2 or 3 MEC unit, mobile edge computing unit, and they have the lots of application in it. So if the problem is identified that it can be easily resolved locally, then it can resolve with the help of MEC server itself. Otherwise, if it is required to transfer the data, then it transfer the data through the base station, or they can directly communicate. Means they are more powerful. They are more powerful compared to the fog nodes, but they require a larger amount of power. So that is known as a mobile edge computing. So that is known as a mobile edge computing. So we see the example here. This mobile edge computing is having the applications, various applications, and this mobile edge computing. The mobile edge computing is an edge computing using a mobile communication network. The physical network are normally 3G and more advanced like the 4G, LTE advanced, as well as the upcoming 5G standards. MEC is a small cloud device that are in there. It interacts with the main cloud that is across the internet. It will interact with these devices, bring the whatever is needed, and directly deliver them to the smartphones, smart beds or smartwatch or the other IoT devices. So it itself has the application. Suppose, for example, multiple users are there, and you launch a movie, and if all the users are downloading that movie from that cloud, then a huge amount of traffic we have to handle. Apart from that, that movie we put locally. So whatever the server, whatever the user, that they are in the periphery of that MEC unit, it directly provides that application to them. It is not required to send that request to the cloud, and cloud again send back that information to the user equipment. So mobile edge computing characteristics include the fast cloud services for the mobile user equipments, reduce the network congestion, and more reliable application support. If I download something that is on the Mac, then because it's close, if some of the packets have error, then I can directly recover and ask the retransmission of movies. As we have seen in case of video application, video processing, if you are communicating with the cloud, so there may be unnecessary delays there. To avoid that delay, and if suppose the wrong information is you receive, you can directly send the information to the MEC, said that that MEC will retransmit the information. You can easily correct the error at the locally. Then the last one is the cloudlet or the cloudlet host. So cloudlet, the structure is a typical access to the Wi-Fi connection. So we access this cloudlet with the Wi-Fi. Inside we have a virtual machines, which are the main features of the cloud computing. We have the virtual machines. Virtual means imaginary machines are there. They are just replica of the cloud. But the capacity of these machines, the power requirement of the machine is less as compared to the cloud machines, but they are the virtual machines. We have the various virtual machines to process the data. Now, if we compare with this cloudlet host in the traditional mobile cloud computing, so traditionally we have seen that we have a user equipment and we directly communicating with the node with the base station. Apart from that, we have a server and we have the modem. The server and modem means it itself working as a IoT, Internet of Things kind of applications. Means they have the modem. The modem is used to communicate with this user equipments and the server. Whatever the information required, you put that information to the server. Server locally process that information, and it instruct to the user equipments to do or to take the actions. As shown in this example, in which we have a cloud server, which is a local server, and the modem device together, which may be separate device interconnected, or they may be on the device. So the cloud host, they join the network as a local cloud support system. However, of course, they do not have the full capacity and storage memory that the main cloud would have. So we call them a cloud. Why we call as a cloudlets? Because they have the limited amount of storage and limited amount of processing capabilities. And if we compare this three edge computing techniques, the fog computing, the mobile edge computing, and the cloudlet computing. So the node devices, routers, switches, access point, gateway, the servers running in the base station, and the data center in the box. So mainly the main thing is that the proximity, one or multiple hops, the one hops and one hops, and the access mechanism. The Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, mobile network, it supports all type of communication. It supports only the mobile network, and it supports the Wi-Fi network. The internode communication supported partially, and the physical proximity. If you compare with the physical power consumption, the mobile edge computing is required a high power consumption. Apart from that, the cloud fog computing and the cloudlet is required low power consumption. The computation time, the fog computing is a high computation time. Apart from that, mobile edge computing and the cloudlets at the low computation time. The logical proximity and non-IP supports. So this is all about that. And these are the major areas where the most of this R&D work is going on into this IoT system. As I already told you, the security is one of the aspects, the short-range communication devices, short-range communication network, low power protocols, low power encryption techniques. These are the main hot areas on which the most of this research and the R&D is going on. So to get start for the IoT, if you want to start, Mr. मैंने बोला था कि first I'll give you that feel that suppose if you want to just start your career, your first application using the IoT, you can design using this Arduino board, or you can design using the Raspberry Pi boards. And apart from that, we'll have a very good facility that is of IIT Mumbai. Lots of videos, lectures are available. You can design your Arduino board using that. Arduino projects. So they have the Arduino tutorials, that is known as the playlist. So various spoken tutorials, you can just go to the spoken tutorials. Just for the starting point, you can start to write a simple programs to Arduino with the tricolor LEDs. You sense the data with the temperatures. You put that data on the LCD display, So these are the very small examples are given onto this spoken tutorials. You can access this spoken tutorials from IIT Mumbai. It is created by the IIT Mumbai, and the lots of resources are available. Means अगर आपको start करना है, you just want to start your first product or first project in IoT, you can use that spoken tutorial site. It is very useful and the full information is given. You just download this IDE connected and you can use that. So I'll stop here. It's already 9:59. It's one more minute left. So we create one more poll. So one more poll is activated. So link is also open for this Google form. Poll is live now. The question is long range of wireless communication supported by. Form is not opening. Form is closed. Okay, I'll see that. Not working. Okay, I'll see that. Otherwise, we will consider this poll attendance. Ask the
Sir, form is not working properly.
Yeah, now it's working. Please check.
It is not accepting responses.
Not accepting responses because now I was.
So you can resume it.
Will you please try once more?
You can resume the response collecting. Yeah, sir. Now it's working.
Yeah. Okay, please. So if you have any doubt regarding this basics of hello, Meghna.
Yes, sir. Can you please explain when to use edge computing and when to use fog computing for the various applications? Means when
When we use
edge is
a
applicable and when it's fog applicable.
means can you repeat your question?
Means while designing the systems in IoT, when to
Yes.
use edge and when to use fog.
Fog computing, edge computing is a The fog computing, mobile edge computing, and the cloudlets are a part of the edge computing. But you use generally we use a edge computing. Generally we use a fog computing where we have a communication channel is a Wi-Fi Bluetooth. If you have a Wi-Fi Bluetooth capability, then you have to use this fog computing. If you have a communication mode is a mobile communication mode, then you use a mobile cloud computing, mobile edge computing. And if you have Wi-Fi only, then you use a cloudlets.
Okay. So edge computing is basically related with the on-premise analysis, right?
Yes. Basically, it is designed for the on-premises.
Okay. So if it's a personalized application, then we should use edge computing there.
Yes. But if you require, you first means collect the information if your traffic is very large, if you require to transfer lots of information over the clouds, then you can use edge computing. Or apart, the peoples are working onto the edge computing. They are using a Raspberry Pi itself as an edge computing device.
Okay, so in case of personal area networks, we mainly use edge computing there.
Edge computing, yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other question? So the link is open for that attendance. Google Form link is open for the attendance. And now we have a break of 5 minutes. We'll again resume at 10:10. The Meghna Singh is already joined. So Meghna, because a delay in the sessions, so can you wait for 5 minutes because we have a break of 5 minutes and we will start 10:10. Is it fine, Meghna?
Sure. No problem, Vaibhav.
Okay.
Thank you.
So participants, we have a break of 5 minutes. Then after that break of 5 minutes, we'll resume with the next session by the Meghna Singh.